guys, listen up. Just hear me out for a sec. We've entered a new phase with the Arsenal team. Not just from this week. Actually, it started a couple of weeks ago, but from this week on, it's really picking up. Before, people used to say stuff like, oh, they're just at the top or second place, but now people are seriously starting to get jealous of some weird things. Like set pieces. Some people are jealous of that. Others are jealous of the defensive record. Like conceding only 3 goals in 10 weeks. Arsenal's about to set a historic record on the defensive side. Arsenal. Ever since this program started, everyone's been talking about how shaky and weak our defense is. But now, it's the same Arsenal that people are starting to pick as the team that might break the record. After many years, Chelsea achieved the record of conceding only 15 goals throughout the season, a number most people probably don't know. The record before Chelsea was actually held by Arsenal. Yeah, that's a new fact for you. The best defensive record in a single season before Chelsea belonged to Arsenal. It was the 1998 season, or full season, where Arsenal conceded only 17 goals. Hopefully everything goes well, fingers crossed. Captain, teacher, KG, miss. Let's hope everything turns out fine, because we finally reached this stage and we're steady now. Alright, let's chill for a bit and catch up, because we've got a lot to talk about. First off, Arsenal won against Burnley in another game where they didn't let a single shot on goal. Impressive stuff. I'm keeping my eye on you. Manchester United drew with Nottingham Forest. So, fingers crossed for United to start a new winning streak. Also, Chelsea beat Tottenham at Tottenham's new stadium. Real Madrid, after crashing Valencia 4-0, is ready for Liverpool. Barcelona finished -3. So, go ahead and smash that like button. Smash that like button right now. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our latest updates. Let's get started with today's wrap-up. The match between... I'm talking about Arsenal. Because today, with that first goal from a corner kick, Gabriel assisted Gyökeres. Arsenal, honestly, since the start of last season, is the team in the top 5 leagues that scored the most goals from set pieces, with 22 goals. Want to guess who's second? Come on, guess who's the second highest team scoring from set pieces since the start? Last season, Inter scored 17 goals and Arsenal scored 22 from set pieces, both the highest among the top 5 leagues. Seriously, it's impressive how they've nailed that aspect from different angles. The difference is one team is leading in set-piece goals and doing an amazing job, while the other is second in the Italian league and still has potential. If you look at the league table, you want to see how the team's doing under Christian Kifu's leadership. But let's focus on Arsenal. Today's match against Burnley could have many headlines, but the main and clearest one is the best Gyökeres performance since joining Arsenal in today's match was impressive. Even though he only played 45 minutes in the Arsenal against Burnley game, he gave his best performance since he stepped on to English League. He had a great game, scoring excellently. Forget just the goal. It was all about being in the right place at the right time. The guy barely did more than touch the ball with his head to put it in the net. But the most important thing was his overall play, because for the first time we saw Gyökeres confidently playing with his back to the goal, and that's a big deal. The thing that stood out today was Gyökeres. He was basically the real leader of Arsenal's attack in a game that I think might have been one of the worst for Saka. Gyökeres managed to score, and also played the key role in Arsenal's second goal, setting up Trossard perfectly. Trossard then found Rice, who was Arsenal's second best player today, and Rice scored the second goal. As for Saka, he had a really poor performance today. It was clear he was completely drained and exhausted, though he did get 2 chances to close out the match, but he just couldn't handle them. Arsenal is still going strong like they did in October, and are starting November with the same energy. A really important win, and keeping a clean sheet in the match. I think that's 7 in a row now. Arsenal can definitely keep winning in the Premier League. As for clean sheets, I believe the last player to score against Arsenal was Nick Voltmata in the game between Arsenal and Newcastle. Since then, Arsenal hasn't conceded any goals. In fact, for the second match in a row, Arsenal finished the game without even letting the other team take a single shot on target. Actually, the only real threat Burnley posed in the whole match was that foul in the 96th minute. Right at the very end, like in the last 10 seconds. That foul was played and the ball hit the crossbar. That was the only danger Arsenal faced today. Honestly, I'm starting to think that the fuss people are making about David Raya wanting to ask Mikel Arteta to let him work from home might not just be a fuss anymore. It could actually become a reality. But even though Arsenal's attack hasn't been putting up big numbers, despite that, when it comes to attack, Arsenal might not have one of the top 3 best attacking lines in the Premier League this season. But Arsenal is a perfect example of the saying, if they manage to finish the season by winning the league, they'll prove that attack wins you games, while defense wins you titles. Because so far, after 10 weeks into the Premier League season, we're talking about a defense that has only conceded 3 goals and is setting historic records, making everyone look at this team differently. When will Arsenal concede a goal? When will Arsenal face a shot on target? Since the start of the season, Arsenal has stumbled in 2 matches out of the 10 they've played. Arsenal won 8 games but failed 2 tests. The first was the loss to Liverpool at Anfield, and the second was the draw against Manchester City at the Emirates. In that exciting match, Arsenal had over 70% possession and played an amazing game against Man City, managing to hold on until the last 2 minutes of added time when City equalized. Arsenal is moving forward steadily and really well, but I think the key is to make the most of the period up until December and January, since that's when you see the rivals stumbling more and more. One of the good things about this week for Arsenal in the Champions League is the match against Slavia Praga. It should be an easy game for Arsenal, and it'll be a good chance for Mikel Arteta to do what he did in the Carabao Cup match against Brighton, giving the whole backup squad a chance to play in this game and see how they perform. The defensive line with Skelly playing left back and a Ben White right back, along with a defense made up of Hincapié and Mosquera, can be there to give the players enough rest before Arsenal's next match, which is the last one before the international break. By the way, it's not an easy game because Arsenal's upcoming league match is against Sunderland, a team that's been a huge surprise in the Premier League so far. Plus, the game is at Sunderland's home ground, so there's no room for messing around or wasting time. But at the same time, Arsenal. There's a lot of effort put in winning and reaching the top, so Manchester United was supposed to have a big match ahead. It was meant to carry a lot of hope for a win, especially since they were facing a team that's currently struggling to find balance, Nottingham Forest. Before the match against Manchester United, which was at Nottingham Forest's home ground, the City ground, Nottingham Forest hadn't managed to win in their last 4 Premier League games. No, they hadn't even been able to score a goal in 4 consecutive Premier League matches. At the start of this game, we saw Manchester United showing both their best and worst qualities. Why? Because in this match, Manchester United managed to score 2 goals from set pieces, which aligns with the expectations we had before the game. Manchester United is actually the 4th highest team in terms of goals scored from set pieces in the Premier League, although they only managed to convert 3 goals from them in this match. United managed to boost the tally to 5 goals with the 2 he scored in today's match. But it's the same Manchester United that conceded 2 goals from crosses in the same way and exactly the same method. We watched them coming from the same side, from the same player, Diego Dalot. It was natural that as soon as he saw Robin Amorim on the bench, he decided that if he was going to pull a player off the bench or take someone off the starting lineup, he'd take off Diego Dalot and give Patrick Durgo a chance. Maybe that's something we should talk about a bit in detail. As for the match itself, Manchester United managed to score the first goal thanks to an assist from Bruno Fernandes and a header from Casemiro scored from a corner kick. That corner caused a huge controversy. Why? Because before the corner, there was a play involving Nicolas Savona. Savona was supposed to be chasing the ball, and replays should have shown that the ball never fully went out, so it shouldn't have been counted as a corner. But since VAR doesn't intervene, In these situations, the referee had to let the play continue and count the corner as normal, which allowed Manchester United to score the first goal. As usual, the refs keep making these controversial decisions just so we have something to talk about every week. We talk about refereeing more than anything else. But Manchester United conceded 2 goals in almost the same way, which shows weaknesses we've talked about a lot. Let's focus on the right and left sides regarding Manchester United's tactical setup with 3 defenders. Why do they do that? Because the right side has a huge advantage. It's one of the most aggressive attacking areas in the Premier League right now. The right side, with Bryan Mbeumo and Amad Diallo, is very fierce offensively, very active and dynamic in attack. It's really aggressive and can create danger, but there's a constant problem with him. Amad Diallo has a big issue. He's not physically strong enough to handle defensive situations properly. This causes a lot of problems for Manchester United, especially in moments like the first goal. It was basically a positioning error by Dalot regarding the ball for that goal, and the guy didn't cover properly. At the same time, Amad just couldn't match Morgan Gibbs-White physically well enough to step on the ball. He was able to get into any challenge, and Nottingham Forest managed to score the first goal before the second one came. The ball came from a cross in the same way and same style. This time, the ball landed at Nicolas Savona's feet right in front of the goal, so he could finish it into the net, making the score 2-0 in favor of Nottingham Forest. Manchester United, who hadn't kept a clean sheet all season except once, conceded 2 goals against this team in their last 4 matches, couldn't score any goals. But the same Manchester United team managed to score 2 goals from set pieces against a strong team. Nottingham's really strong physically, and has a coach like Sean Dyche, which is something rare to see, especially when you have defenders like Morayo and Milinkovic, guys who are physically powerful and also really tall. So, I believe this gives Manchester United a clear style. The team is improving a lot when it comes to set pieces, especially considering that the second goal scored by Amad Diallo wasn't just a set-piece goal. It showed great intelligence and technique in finishing. I think it might even be up for Goal of the Week in the English Premier League. And it is honestly one of the most amazing things. What's crazy is what Manchester United's goalkeeper said when he first joined. When they asked him what makes the Premier League different from other leagues, he said the set pieces and throw-ins here are really tough. It's the same team that's able to show real strength in set pieces, which is a big plus. Maybe this is my message to Manchester United fans. A draw doesn't mean the team's lost its rhythm. It doesn't mean the team played badly. And it definitely doesn't mean Manchester United is going back to the bottom or everything's falling apart. I get the hype and the trend about the guy who hasn't shaved his head yet, waiting for Manchester United to win 5 games in a row so he can finally shave it and make it look good. But let's be real, you're not going to keep winning forever. It's normal. You won 3 games. Then, in the 4th, you ended up drawing at the City Ground against Nottingham Forest, led by Sean Dyche, with players known for their height and physical toughness, which we all saw. I think things aren't as bad as they seem. It's actually really good. Everything's going well, and starting from the next match, you'll see things moving in the right direction. And Manchester United managed to get back to winning ways again. Chelsea and Tottenham at Tottenham Stadium. This was supposed to be a tough game for Chelsea because Tottenham had a great chance. If they had won, even temporarily, they would have moved up to 2nd place in the league with 20 points. And many people forget that this Tottenham team is actually the 2nd best when it comes to defense in the current English Premier League season before the match between Chelsea and Tottenham. It's true that finishing 2nd as the best defense in the league is impressive. This includes a pretty big list with Sunderland, Manchester City, and Tottenham all on it. Tottenham has had an excellent season under Thomas Frank's leadership, which is quite the contrast to Chelsea. Chelsea went into this match oddly sitting in 1st place, but they definitely weren't at their best form, far from it. However, during the Chelsea and Tottenham game, it felt like only one team really showed up. Even though most of the match was pretty boring and could have easily put you to sleep, Chelsea stayed sharp, focused right from the first minute. One thing that hurt Tottenham from the start, was losing Bergvall to injury. The medical staff decided to be cautious and not risk pushing him too hard. After Bergvall came off, Xavi Simons came on, but just like Kolo Muani, neither of them really made a difference. When it comes to Tottenham's investments this season, Randal Kolo Muani has really hit his stride up front, doing some crazy things both with and without the ball. As for Xavi Simons, even though he's had some good individual moments, he hasn't been able to deliver anything major for Tottenham. But the biggest headline from today's Chelsea vs Tottenham Premier League game was all about the pressure, and more pressure. Why? Because Chelsea managed to win 1-0 thanks to a crucial goal from João Pedro, set up perfectly by Moses Caicedo. That goal was really important. So, there was a mistake on Tottenham's left side. I don't want to say it was rash, but it was kind of messy situation between Van de Ven and Spence. In the end, Van de Ven caused an error that let Chelsea win the ball through direct pressure and regain possession in a dangerous area. Caicedo then passed the ball inside to Pedro to score. The same thing happened on the other side, where we saw either Kevin Danso or Pedro Porro struggling with getting the ball out. They both played really badly, and the ball got intercepted, and João Pedro also tried to get into the box and take a shot, but Vicario was able to block it and save the ball. Still, it showed how tough it is for Tottenham to build up play from the back. This probably comes down to something important. Chelsea is one of the teams with the most aggressive and strong attacking lines, especially when it comes to pressing. Today's attack with Pedro Neto. Honestly, I'm fed up with Pedro Neto on the right side, but he was the one playing there. Garnacho was. He's playing on the left side with João Pedro ahead of him and Enzo Fernandez behind. The new setup, which is pretty much confirmed now, has Reece James as part of Chelsea's midfield system, playing alongside Caicedo in the middle. Malagosto sometimes plays as the right back. I believe this is now Chelsea's standard setup. Reece James's current role is in midfield. Malagosto occasionally pushes forward to add more attacking options, which helps the team. But what was clear with Chelsea and Enzo Maresca is that they want to dominate and control the team. Tottenham's progress with the ball was limited, and the only moment they were allowed to push into the final third relied entirely on one player's individual skills, Mohamed Kudus. This, to me, was a big highlight when it comes to Marc Cucurella. Cucurella, as usual, is kind of underrated in this crazy Nuno era we're living in. Players like Marc Cucurella often don't get the credit they deserve because they're constantly compared to others. But honestly, Cucurella is one of those players who, when you give him a skillful winger, he can really lock down that side more than excellent. And today we saw how Kudus was completely on top of his game. He managed to shut down Cucurella in every one-on-one situation between them and made things really tough for him one way or another. Today, we probably saw Tottenham, theoretically, make 4 or 5 changes on the field, but I believe the coach Thomas Frank, if he had the ability to make more substitutions, he would have. In fact, some players who started the first half because of the match situation, like Xavi Simons, didn't even last until the 72nd minute. He got subbed off so someone else could come on. Honestly, the big number of changes Tottenham made was because their players seemed pretty helpless in this match. Maybe we didn't see that in earlier games because Thomas Frank has actually done a great job this season with Tottenham, shaping the team really well. But today, Enzo Maresca was able to outthink him pretty clearly, and I think that showed in the expected goals difference between the two teams. What was tough for Enzo Maresca today was that his team just couldn't finish the chances they got. Honestly, the heaviest moment of the whole match was that ball in the 93rd minute where we saw João Pedro passing it to Jeremy Gutens on a silver platter, completely open in front of the goal, and Jeremy just blasted the ball into the sky. Right after that, there was another chance missed by João Pedro himself, also in the 93rd minute, a clear one-on-one, and he missed too. This just adds to Chelsea's already poor scoring record. They just couldn't find the net in this game, I think, if. Chelsea had a player who could have finished the ball better, and if he did, they might have been able to get a 2 or 3 goal lead from the first half and made the game way easier for themselves. Credit to Enzo Maresca in this match. He managed to hold back the flood and the intensity Tottenham have been bringing in their recent games, making things tougher for them. That helped Chelsea pull off a really important win after the disappointment last week, losing to Sunderland in the Premier League, and also after a pretty rough game against Wolverhampton in the Carabao Cup. What Chelsea managed to do is win, but it's tough. The important thing is how they push themselves. Barcelona win against Elche today. Elche is a team that's doing really well in the Spanish league. Maybe we saw a slightly different Barcelona. Not the same style or approach we're used to seeing in previous matches. It was a compromise, and although it wasn't enough, Barcelona managed to do something good. They won after losing the Clásico. The loss in the Clásico was pretty rough, even if it was just by 1 goal, but the damage was way bigger than what the team could handle. So, you're ready for our episode? Go ahead and smash that like button. Seriously, hit the like right now. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of our updates. Barcelona went into the match against Elche, facing a player who was a friend yesterday and an opponent today, our own goalkeeper who switched sides. What happened with Barcelona's lineup was that we saw Araujo start the match instead of Cubarsí. And the second change, which was forced, was Casado playing in midfield alongside De Jong and Fermin as a substitute for Pedri. By the way, we've been talking for months about how Pedri has been playing like someone who's about to get injured. And after the red card he got in the Real Madrid match, which we thought would give him a chance to rest, it turned out that he actually has a real injury and will be out for up to a month and a half. So he probably won't be back anytime soon for Barcelona. 2 weeks after the international break, we almost wouldn't have seen him back on the pitch, but today's attack line features Marcus Rashford, Fran Torres, and Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal managed to score a goal today, and it wasn't a penalty. He didn't even bother putting on the crown or the tag he usually wears after every goal. But honestly, let's talk about something really important, a player's life off the pitch. No matter how much people try to deny it, it's an inseparable part of their performance on the field. And when I say this, I'm not just talking about harmful or innocent relationships with women or that whole story. So I believe that a player's behavior or life off the field definitely affects how they perform on the field. For example, take a few steps back. Some really important steps happened after the Clásico match, where the guy was supposed to be scheduled for something. There was supposed to be an interview with a French YouTuber, but it got canceled altogether. Barcelona advised the player to just drop the whole thing and not make any statements, and the interview was indeed canceled and banned. No one is allowed to make any comments for the time being. That was the first point. The second point, I know it's a sensitive topic. I don't want to say we shouldn't talk about it. Maybe I just don't like bringing it up. But it's something that has to be addressed. Although, what we say now might be outdated in a couple of days because, obviously, the news coming out says he left Nicky Nicole and might do something else. Upgrading to someone else, we don't really know how that will turn out. But I always believe that a player with Arab roots and background, especially when he's connected to his origins and heritage, like sitting with his grandmother all the time. Take Lamine, for example. If you don't bring someone from the same environment and mindset to support him, someone who can hold him together through life, he won't succeed in football. He needs someone from the same cultural background as his grandmother, like a woman who acts as both a wife and a mother in his life, to keep him grounded. That's probably the best example. About the guy whose life got straightened out by a woman, we can talk about Ousmane Dembélé. After a rough and messy period when God blessed him and he got married, you could tell his life off the pitch became as steady as it is on the pitch. Things started to fall into place for him until he reached the point where he won the Ballon d'Or last season. The decisions Yamal made, whoever advised him, should be credited because starting from the match against the Elche and the games after that, they had a positive effect on him. In the match against the Elche, he really showed improvement, scored a goal, and overall delivered a pretty solid performance despite all the nonsense before. What he showed in the match against Real Madrid in the Clásico, I really wish the kid who's only 18 would focus, like truly realize he's 18 and needs to concentrate on football, on what's happening on the pitch. I'm not saying he should go to extremes like Soon, whose dad forbade him from getting married until he finished his European football career before even thinking about it. But there should be some sense and balance about what exactly he's throwing himself into, because what you do off the pitch affects everything. You have to be involved on the field, whether positively or negatively. But Barcelona, like any team, was hopeful that Elche team would play offside traps. Sometimes during the match, Barcelona did fall into the offside trap. What was clear from the start was that Barcelona was trying to give the ball to Elche and impress them in their own half. This seems to be a recurring pattern in Barcelona's recent games. They're starting to regain confidence in their pressing game. And here comes the important point. The pressing all over the pitch, and the goals scored today by the team. A big part of Barcelona's game was based on excellent high pressing. The first goal came from a setup by Alejandro Balde. The ball went through him to Yamal, who managed to score. It was a perfectly executed pressing move that allowed Barcelona to win the ball back. Then we saw the second goal scored by Torres. Again, Barcelona's players pressed hard. There was a mistake by the defender who slipped and lost the ball, but Barcelona's players were really quick to take advantage of that slip-up. We also saw how Fermin Lopez was outstanding in creating chances today. He passes the ball to Fran Torres so he can score and make it 2-0. Even with the third goal scored by Marcus Rashford, we see the same thing happening. Fermin Lopez giving a new level of creativity, and more importantly, Rashford showing his individual skill and finishing. Marcus Rashford, who just celebrated his 28th birthday, finally turned 28, even though I feel like he's been at Manchester United forever, like he never really left the under-23s. Suddenly, he's 28, and wow, he managed to score a goal in today's match and also grab the Man of the Match award. But Barcelona, theoretically, they conceded a goal from an offside free kick. But that offside free kick came from a ball that was originally from the halfway line. That's how Elche team managed to score the only goal in this match. But this game represents a bunch of gains for Barcelona and brings up several points we need to start talking about seriously. First off, Barcelona doesn't have a backup even close to 50% of Pedri's level, and honestly, it was really tough watching Casado playing in midfield alongside Frankie de Jong and Lopez today. You know why? Because you're watching the match, right? You know what makes Fermin Lopez special? I always say, he's like the Steven Gerrard of Spanish football. This guy either has killer shots that can decide games for you, or he's got this amazing vision on his own that lets him create chances and set up his teammates. Physically, he's super strong and really aggressive when it comes to pressing and winning the ball back, and he does all that really well. Frankie de Jong is solid when it comes to bringing the ball out or recovering it. He does his job clearly and effectively. The biggest problem in Barcelona's midfield comes down to Casado. Honestly, it's kind of weird. Remember Marc Bernal? Not this season, last season. The guy played the first two games, and you could tell he had something good. But Casado? Right now, you can't really tell what he's good at. He's there, fits into the midfield setup, and can contribute a bit, but honestly, I can't find anything that makes me want to praise Casado. To be real with you, there's no reason to hype him up. There's no quality in him that stands out when you look closely. Honestly, this guy's something else in midfield. I don't want to call him traditional, because that word doesn't really fit him, but he's definitely the glue holding the team together. If the people around him are good, he's good. If they're bad, he's bad too. You can't really pin down what exactly makes him stand out or what he brings to the table that gives him an edge over other midfielders. Like, for example, Barcelona fans might have seen Balde take over after Carreras scored, and they'd say, yeah, Carreras knows how to do that. Balde just doesn't know how to do it. Seriously, why? At least when it comes to making runs with the ball and crossing, Balde has improved a lot. Last season, he was capable of having an amazing season, and even this season, when injuries kept him out for a bit, he was still able to show a clear and consistent style. You know what makes this kid stand out? He's super fast with and without the ball, which is a huge advantage. Also, his crosses are spot on. He can deliver really good crosses. So yeah, that's definitely a strength you can count on. I'm not gonna lie, up until now, no one's really stood out. Then at the 65th minute, honestly, I was about to turn off the TV when I saw Lopez come off and Dani Olmo come on. I mean, if the game was boring before, it definitely didn't get any better with Dani Olmo. Even at the national team level, the guy has lost his spot. At Barcelona, he still hasn't found his footing. There's still some worry about injuries, like, what if I get hurt trying this move? So he can't really show anything special yet, obviously. The big problem Barcelona has, which is Lewandowski, just Lewandowski himself, the way he shows up on the field. Today, he came off the bench, and the way he came onto the pitch, when you watch him, you realize this is probably his last year playing at the top level. The best Lewandowski can do in the coming seasons is maybe play in a league like Serie A, where the team has a system full of players who can support him and get him the ball inside the box. That's what he had before. Barcelona had better pressing stats on the pitch, and in this match, the result was way better. But deep down, you know the season's tough, you know it's been rough, and you know it's been really hard on Barcelona's fans, players, and coaching staff. Things just aren't in the best shape, and nothing's really pointing to anything new happening this season. I can tell Barcelona fans the same thing I said last season. Don't get your hopes up for the rest of the season. There's basically no limit to your ambitions right now. Try to grab the combined titles, the Cup, the Super Cup. Those are the chances you have to make something happen. When it comes to the lineup, I wouldn't say Real Madrid's squad looks the most likely. Atletico Madrid's lineup actually seems more promising than Barcelona's at the moment. Barcelona's current squad situation is really tough and challenging in terms of matches and competition. It feels almost impossible for Barcelona to get any positive results or win titles this season, and that's what makes things so difficult. It's tougher and harsher for a Barcelona fan. Don't raise your expectations. Don't think things will ever be all rosy. Life's really hard and cruel. We all know that even with Barcelona winning today against Elche, the challenges ahead are huge. In the Champions League, Barcelona has a manageable challenge and one they can handle in the match against Club Brugge. Overall, this win is a big morale boost, but the situation isn't looking bright or good, and it definitely doesn't guarantee anything. Except if Barcelona's management doesn't find a way to solve some of the problems the team has. They need to at least get into the January transfer window and bring in one or two players to improve things a bit, or help steady the team. This match for a Real Madrid fan is super chill. It feels like a game where a Real Madrid fan just comes in to enjoy, to lighten up, to relax their mind. No pressure, no stress, no tension. Dude, I'm playing against the 18th team in La Liga, or maybe the 17th teams fighting relegation. And hopefully they go down. That's how a Real Madrid fan sees it. They're like, I just want to win easy, score some nice goals, play well, press all over the pitch, treat ourselves, have some fun, and show off all our best moves before we get to the real challenge waiting for us. In the Champions League match against Liverpool, especially since Liverpool had just beaten Aston Villa, congrats guys! Liverpool won today on the day of miracles. It wasn't just that Liverpool won. No, Endrick dropped onto the field. Endrick played with Real Madrid and came on in the last 15 minutes today. Oh my God, can't believe it. I thought Endrick was done for, completely disappeared. But at the 79th minute, Kylian Mbappe, who had scored 2 of the 3 goals, came off and Endrick came on to play with Real Madrid, sending a message from Mr. Xabi Alonso. Everyone has an equal chance to join in once we remember they're still alive. Today, he stepped onto the field with Real Madrid, was there for a few minutes, enjoying himself, having fun, and messing around with his brothers amid all the wins Real Madrid has been racking up. After Real Madrid's win in El Clasico, you can feel like life just lit up his face, like his blood's flowing again, like there's this happiness and joy inside the Real Madrid locker room. So much so that they decided not to bench Vinicius Jr., making him a regular starter today. And when he comes off the field, he greets the fans and then goes straight into an embrace with the coach. He was patting Endrick on the back, saying a few encouraging words like, "Yeah, you got this. Keep it up. Tomorrow, you'll be a big star, just like me." Then he went on about making miracles and awesome things with you guys. This is EZ Football, talking about Real Madrid's big win over Valencia before their Champions League match against Liverpool. Absolutely amazing. And that cherry on top of the cake was Alvaro Carrera's goal. Seriously, if you haven't seen Alvaro Carrera's first ever goal for Real Madrid, go watch it again. This is how you kick off your scoring career at Real Madrid, no joke. Watch the goal again, feast your eyes and ears, and enjoy the sweets and Alvaro Carrera's doing his thing, finishing it off like one of Marcelo's best. It's like watching one of Ferland Mendy's goals. If he scored that in his dreams, he'd have to wake up and apologize to the Pro Players Union and every footballer out there. What is this? This is Real Madrid, man. Winning the Clásico really lifts your spirits, clears your mind, opens up your pores, and makes your skin glow. It does amazing things, honestly. There are 7 benefits to winning the Clásico, the biggest one being that it helps you move on from whatever's holding you back. Like with Nick and Nickel. Today, Real Madrid was actually more entertaining, creative, convincing, and even gave their main players some rest after getting the result they wanted. Why? Because the Valencia and Real Madrid match is always a tough one for Real Madrid fans. Let me start with this question, Real Madrid fans. Seriously, even if Valencia is dead last in the league and already 100% relegated, and you're playing them in the last week of La Liga, isn't it always a tough game against Valencia? Like, their matches are always hard to watch, always frustrating, always annoying, and there's always heavy drama in every game Real Madrid plays against Valencia. Honestly, even though today was supposed to be an easy win, deep down, Real Madrid fans are just relieved the game is over because it wasn't worth the stress or the headache. There were no injuries or any issues before we got into the match against Liverpool. The game against Liverpool is a completely different kind of motivation for Real Madrid, for the fans, the players, and the coach. Last year, Real Madrid got crushed at Anfield and lost 2-0, and Mbappe missed a penalty during a shaky period early in his time with Real Madrid. Don't forget, last year, Liverpool, led by Arne Slot from Bayern Leverkusen, and under Xabi Alonso's management, beat them 4-0 right off the bat and took some confidence from that. Real Madrid's coach and players all have Liverpool in their sights and won't rest until they beat them. Today's 4-0 win over Valencia sent the strongest message Real Madrid could before the big showdown against Liverpool. Even though Liverpool managed to beat Aston Villa, Real Madrid's big win right after the Clásico, with all the players in top form, especially Jude Bellingham, shows there's a lot to be happy about for Real Madrid fans. I guess I'm excited too. I'll start with the topic of Jude Bellingham specifically because, for me, Jude Bellingham is super important. You know why? Because there's something you have to learn when talking about football. If a player's playing badly, you can criticize them, but when their performance improves, there's no need to be stubborn and stick to your old opinion. I'm one of those people. Last year, when Bellingham was playing terribly due to his shoulder injury, and even in the first 4 or 5 games after he came back this year when he was still really bad, I had no problem criticizing him and calling him out. But now, let's talk facts. Bellingham's the man. He was the standout in the last Clásico against Barcelona, and again today against Valencia. He's back in top form for 2023, just like the Real Madrid games you've been waiting for. Real Madrid's gonna win, and you'll see Bellingham making things happen. The magic's back, the beautiful football's back, the great level's back. Most importantly, the greatness is back. Even though the start of this match looked like Real Madrid wasn't really in it, especially when in the first minute we saw Arda Güler on the ground holding his leg and we thought, oh no. Give me the injury updates that depend on your recovery speed. Hope everything goes well and gets easier for you and the kids. Yeah, he went up between the lines, near the goal area, to mark Alonso because he wants to rest the players. But that early moment scared all the Madrid fans. They were like, please, let it be okay. Today, Real Madrid made some changes in the lineup. Franco Massantano, who didn't start in the Clásico, started today to regain confidence. Real Madrid planned to attack aggressively and press hard on the opposing team, so there was no need to start with 2 of his players from the beginning. In the midfield, there was no need to start with Camavinga, who started today in midfield. Jude Bellingham was there alongside Arda Güler, and the third was Tchouaméni. Up front, there was Mastantuono with Vinicius Jr., and the third was Kylian Mbappe. Honestly, they managed to do something really important that you have to appreciate before you start talking about the players individually. Look, guys, the best thing about the Xabi Alonso era with Real Madrid, the thing I'm sure we'll have a day to sit down, make an episode about it, break it all down calmly, and talk about it however we want, is the Madrid pressing system is all about pressing, pressing, and pressing, because the Madrid pressing system is amazing. It's beyond words. Under the leadership of Mr. Xabi Alonso, it's executed beautifully and in an extraordinary way. Watching Real Madrid, you can honestly say, finally, Real Madrid has a system. Finally, Real Madrid has ideas. Finally, Real Madrid is trying to achieve something and do something other than relying on individual skills and crossing as their main weapon. Being able to make quick breaks with the players you have in the team is something that wasn't really used at all before, guys. It basically didn't exist. We didn't see that in the Real Madrid squad. Now, the situation has changed completely. Why? Because as a team, I have some of the fastest players in the world. If there's a list of the top 10 fastest players worldwide, Real Madrid might have 3 or 4 of them. When you have a lineup like that, and your team is physically strong and presses well, you can force every opponent to make mistakes and take advantage. Behind that, Real Madrid's first goal, they got a penalty. That penalty had everything. A handball from a Valencia defender, a hold from a Valencia defender, some offside doubt, and maybe even the player was grabbed by another defender. The ref spent like half an hour going over everything about that penalty until he finally decided it was a penalty. Honestly, I get the whole Real Madrid and penalty trend, but I always have my own take on penalties and keep saying the same thing. The bottom line for me is 2 things, whether the penalty is deserved or not. Anyone who steps up to take a penalty, do they score or not? Honestly, penalties are such a heavy thing in football history. You know why? If a player scores a penalty, he's a penalty mister. But if he misses, he's weak-minded, a coward, and deserves to be out. Players feel so much pressure. If they score, people say they're good and tough. But if they miss, they're called all sorts of names and seen as having no character. So you never know how to please the fans when it comes to penalties. What can you even do to make people happy with you? For me, when it comes to penalties, it's simple. A penalty is either right or wrong. About the penalties awarded to Real Madrid, I'd say maybe 1 or 2 are questionable. But overall, I'm talking about 90-95% of them being clear and correct. So there's really no room for debate or argument, just like there were some nice moves in the first goal with how Real Madrid players positioned themselves in the box to create danger. The second goal had all the good stuff. The second goal, for the first time, makes you feel that Real Madrid's players aren't just individually strong, but they also understand their tactical roles on the pitch. You know why? Because the whole sequence of the second goal is pure beauty from start to finish. You see Vinicius Jr. completely hugging the wing, drawing a Valencia defender with him, which opens up space for Arda Güler to move into the left side, where he's not usually positioned. Arda moves in, takes Vinicius' spot, then a quick flick drops the ball over the defense to Arda. He controls it and delivers a perfect cross right onto Kylian Mbappe's foot, just how Mbappe likes it. Mbappe manages to score the second goal for Real Madrid, a goal that shows a huge amount of individual and team intelligence within Real Madrid. We're not used to seeing this from him, and it really makes you happy that Xabi Alonso didn't let us down. In my opinion, the guy has a lot to offer and can do amazing work with Real Madrid. When you watch the result, it makes you proud of this team, and you feel like they truly deserve the position they've reached, one way or another. That was a key point, especially with the second goal. The third goal? That's all about personal strength, with all due respect. Vinicius was this close to throwing a new tantrum, like way worse than the one he threw during El Clasico. And I'm talking about the one coming from your own fans, from Real Madrid fans. Why? Because Real Madrid got a second penalty, and they gave that second penalty to Vinicius. After they gave him the penalty, Vinicius decided to act like a spoiled kid who calls the shots and throws a fit, completely losing it and banging his head against the table, basically hurting himself because, well, he just had to. He got everyone's attention. But the penalty was missed. I know it was just bad luck, but man, the moment really burned me up. I had to say it. I'm mad at it. I'm mad at you know how it is. That miss could have messed everything up. There would have been all kinds of drama and stories. But before a minute passed, Jude Bellingham grabbed the ball. Boom! Shot it! Come on, man! The third goal. Let's go, guys. Let's celebrate. Yeah! Let's all get hyped together. Real Madrid managed to score the third goal. And after that, everything felt completely settled. The only thing on Coach Xabi Alonso's mind now is to rest as many players as possible before getting ready for the big fight in the Champions League against Liverpool. But the main thing for Real Madrid is that they secured the win, managed to come out on top, and gave their fans a great night. All the Real Madrid supporters were really happy. So, I just want to say something really important about a topic that usually comes up in every Real Madrid match, and it's about Endrick. I personally believe, guys, that Real Madrid hasn't treated Endrick unfairly. Endrick clearly saw what happened at the Club World Cup. He also saw that Gonzalo Garcia took his time recovering from Mbappe's injury, and knows well that Mbappe is the main player. Endrick got some really good offers to go out on loan, so he could get more playing time on the field with a team. I get it. I see the sad moments and people keep asking, why not? He doesn't get chances, doesn't get much time, and all that. Okay, I'm fine with that. My main striker is on great form, and I've got a young player sitting on the bench. At the same time, the substitutes, whether it's Rodrigo, Vinicius, or whoever, are all able to perform well when they come on. I've got a system that's working great. So what's the point of me using Endrick just to have him on the field? Endrick's only going to play the easy cup matches. Maybe get a game here or there in a friendly or something. But you know how it is with Endrick, and chances playing with percentages doesn't really apply to him because there's a player in Real Madrid's attack who's untouchable. Not because of mother, but because he's delivering historic performances. I'm talking about Kylian Mbappe. You know the path he's on right now? It means that after the 2026 World Cup, if France makes it to the final against any country other than Argentina, Mbappe will be holding the Ballon d'Or. You can see he's in great form, playing well, and you understand the style he's using, which is solid. And you know Mbappe's performance is on another level right now. The guy playing now, the deal is done and dusted. It's clear this dude is going to win the Ballon d'Or at the end of the season if he keeps playing the same way. So, for Xabi Alonso, there's no reason to give another player time or a chance on the field. Honestly, Real Madrid didn't do Endrick any favors. Endrick messed up himself when he had loan opportunities and chose not to go. I get the player's mindset, thinking about his future. But I think Endrick's story was totally different. Going out on loan, especially when a team like Marseille picks you up, and with a coach like De Zerbi, he can really bring out the hidden potential in his players. There were a lot of young guys who could have made a big difference for you, and he could have come back to play regularly for Real Madrid. But Endrick let himself down and decided to continue with the loan. With all due respect, he's not really up to it, nor is he cut out for the competition. The only chance he might get depends on one thing. If Kylian Mbappe gets injured, in the long run, the coach will have to rely on Endrick and give him some playing time. But like I always say, at the end of the day, this is just my personal opinion. What really matters is what you all think in the comments. Thanks for listening and following along. Thanks again, and peace.